Welcome, the Dweller of the Dark. We are a channel honoring the yellowed and blackened bones of many prominent authors. We will be digging up several obscure, strange, and forgotten authors who influenced many of the great horror, science fiction, and fantasy writers today. Comment below if you like. If you have authors that you'd like to see recognized, list them in the comments or contact our author page. Subscribe for more tales of the horrifying, obscure, strange, and forgotten. We'll have quite a collection climbing out of the tombs. If you like any of our tales, comment, ring the bell, and crush the like button below. Unknown Horror Masters. The Skull and Bones collection has risen from the grave. More beast to be released soon. Find us on Fiverr to raise 7 kinds of hell. Check out our other stories and our websites. YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Dweller of the Dark. Official website, dwellerofthedark.com. Kindle Vella, new serialized novels and novelette. Weekly new episodes. Check out links below for Where the Wolf Dwells. The Curious Death of Dionysus Shall-Not. Our books and ebooks are on Kindle Amazon. Follow, support us on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Bandcamp. Dweller of the Dark. Children of Horror. Legion of Ghouls. Tonight, I'm releasing an excerpt from one of the most terrifying encounters I've ever had in my life. To give you a little background, I've spent a better part of my life exploring forests, jungles, swamps, and mountains across several continents. I have always enjoyed the beauty and serenity of nature. Sometimes my curiosity of natural places gets the better of me, and I have, on occasion, headed out of these locations a little later and a little further than expected. The vastness of nearly 1 million acres in your backyard can be staggering to comprehend. Add to it the fact that the forest I hike is over 480 million years old. It always feels like a lost world out here. So many hidden adventures await in all the mountainous splendor and its endless cavernous depths. Call it fate, bad luck, or maybe a good omen. But on June 11th of this year, I ran into something that gives me a shudder on occasion, especially when I look out to the backcountry of the Appalachian Mountains. It certainly ran the Dweller out of the darkness for a little while. The Shadow on the Mountain by Jeffrey LeBlanc. Written after Cooper's Creek Bigfoot encounter on June 11th, 2022. Darkness shrouded me in forest and mist. Waters roared, beckoning me forward in moonlit bliss. Oh, lost I wandered Cooper's Creek, always alone, until I spied the creek brooding and lapping over the ghostly stones. Gentle was the breeze, haunting those ancient pine trees. Great was the darkness, cloaking the sway of forested seas. Thunder shook the ground, and thunder shook my heart. But no storm cloud was above to make the heavens part. Then I saw the nightmarish monstrosity, a creature stride across my path, lumbering as an oak, creaking as the pines, the 2 legs it hath. I stopped and stared at the towering shadow that stood before me. Ancient was the swaying beast who shook earth and topped a tree. Then at some moment, moonlight fell thereon 8 hands clasped from the tree, hard wrenched by the wood creature's monstrous grasp. In haste, I ran from the lurking shape beyond the imagining of my mind. From forest ancient it dwells, well beyond immeasurable, immemorial time. From mountains ageless, I left the shadow lurking, lumbering behind, wandering always in flight if the monstrous beast would snare mine. The Shadow on the Mountain. Brief excerpt by Jeffrey LeBlanc. June 11th, 2022. Chattahoochee National Forest, northern Georgia. There I sat on the side of Yellow Mountain. My knees burned and ached with pain. My feet were cramping and stabbing pinpricks ran across my calves. As I looked on the vast expanse of emerald pines covered in dried sweat, I knew with unease that I was lost. After taking a moment to sit on a granite slab with the circumference of a school bus, I thought on my situation. As chilled winds blew down from the mountain's peak, I sighed in disgust, realizing dusk was fast approaching and the shadows of trees and boulders grew long. I stood and trekked on across the mountain. 6 hours into my lost excursion, tripping over rocks and bramble, I found a leaf-covered logging trail bordering the Chattahoochee National Forest. In the moment, I had a choice to go left or right. Rubbing my sweaty temples, I deduced I was further north of Yellow and Chestnut Mountains. Looking on across a distant ridge approximately 50 miles in the distance, I erred in my direction. It was a huge mistake that would lead me walking south on the logging road. I was heading further into the Chattahoochee National Forest, bordering the remote wilderness of Cooper's Creek. Groaning, I realized it was indeed approaching the purplish twilight of night. But thankfully, my path would be illuminated by the silver light of a brilliant full moon. Onward I trudged on legs that felt rubbery from the miles already I hiked, though the pain and numbness to my body seemed lessened, distracted by the stillness and glimmering beauty of such a tranquil night. I stared at the stars above, felt the comfort of a cool night breeze, and immersed myself again in the natural splendor unafraid. Silver shimmers of moonlight cast their glare between shadowed pines. Rabbits darted between bushes and bats tittered above me between the ancient hemlocks, pines, and poplars. I even heard the nearby hoot of an owl in a hollow and movement of water to the right of me as I descended down the mountain in the dark. It was on the third turn when I noted a shadow cross the trail in front of me. Whatever the thing was, it had moved quickly across. It had been approximately 100 feet in front of me. Again, the dark blur was sparsely seen by the light of the moon. While I couldn't tell what it was, it didn't really concern me. Unbothered, assuming it a black bear or boar bolting down to the creek to drink, I walked on. I took note of the rushing and splashing of the creek as I continued forward. The winding creek lay to my right, roaring at least 60 feet below me in a ravine. I also observed by the lunar light and by my phone an old wagon trail 10 feet below me, running parallel with the creek. Earth-shaking movement startled me. As best as I could describe the noise, it was lumbering, thunderous movement of something tremendously large, moving below on the wagon trail. I also heard in the moment the crash of trees down in the ravine. I shook my head thinking, just my luck to be lost without a knife, bear spray, or gun. And now a large black bear is out and hanging around with me. The creature walked below on the wagon trail. It was headed in my direction. At 60 feet away from the creature's approach, I stood somewhat unsettled. I'd whistled to let the bear know I was there. It was curious to me that I was only hearing 2 legs instead of 4 walking, but it's not uncommon for bears to do that. I screamed the customary, "Hey bear! Hey bear!" then flashed my cell phone light. It kept approaching, unafraid. By the time it was closer than 60 feet in front of me, I felt the earth move beneath me. I tell you, it was uncanny and the weirdest thing to feel the ground shake near me. I hadn't experienced anything like that since my safari days in Africa. That was when elephants and rhinoceros ran past us. It came in closer. I screamed and yelled. The creature stopped beneath me. I waited what seemed an intense eternity, then heard the cracking of branches by a nearby tree. I flashed the light on my phone in the direction of the breaking branches. What I saw made me run like the devil was chasing after me. For what I beheld was the largest primate hand I had ever seen. I'd seen lots of gorillas in zoos and in the African jungles. It was bigger than one of those. More mind-blowing was the primate, by my approximation, had grabbed a branch over its head. The branch had to be at least 10 feet above it. Shocked, I panicked. That thing has to be at least 8 or 9 feet tall. And it's walking. Gorillas lumber, bears stagger their gait. It has no fear of me. Forgetting the pain, I ran the next 10 or more miles, the whole while terrified that the thing on the other end of that hand had decided to lend chase. By the end of the 10th mile, my lungs burned for air. My scorched knees rang true with even greater fiery pain. Exhausted and extremely dehydrated, with a mouth and tongue as coarse as sandpaper, I craved water and immediate rest. Everything was shutting down. Against my terror and the ever-palpable dread, I stopped in a moonlit field near a silvery, sparkling river. At a chilled spring, but what I'd later learn was the Dakota River, I learned 2 things waiting for my family to arrive. 1, in an emergency, the Appalachian chilled spring water is the finest drink in the world. And 2, Bigfoot is real. That was June 11th, 2022. I haven't been back to Cooper's Creek or Yellow Mountain since. On my lost journey, my father-in-law and daughter calculated I had trekked not 1 mountain, but 2, Yellow and Chestnut Mountains. Also, as my body could attest over the next month healing up, I'd hiked 27 miles to finally come out of the woods. I just can't explain my apprehension going near vast forest these days. Part of it is because of an uncanny feeling, not quite dread and not quite fear. Maybe it's knowing that there is something that terrifying out there. Maybe on occasion, when I get near the forested wilderness, I can't help that thing or one of its kin might be watching us. Shuddering right now, looking out toward the mountains of the backcountry. I don't know. But the fear that my wife certainly will kill me if I even mention a trail hike near Cooper's Creek is definitely real. The poem, Shadow on the Mountain, was inspired by the real encounter. The moonlit walk and trail that are in this video were from that day. The Expedition Bigfoot report to Dave Beccaro. Dave happened to mention the statistics and also told me that I'd walked right into a Bigfoot hotspot. The official Expedition Bigfoot report is in the link below. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.